You got to make time. You got to be intentional about what you want to do, and you can't take no excuses. You can't take no type of pushback when you serious about your growth. When you really want to attain something, there's nothing anyone can say or do to stop you from getting there. Yeah, unforeseen circumstances may show up. Yes, things may happen that you don't have control over, but you do have control over your reactions. Are you going to, when you get fall down, are you going to get back up and keep going? If you get set back, are you going to step back up and keep going? Just because you had a little bit of a disappointment in this situation doesn't mean the game is over. Adjust and keep going. Hello world, it's your brother Silent Sound tapping in, and we're back with another episode of the Silent Conversations podcast. As always, this episode is sponsored by The Silent Store. Yes, thesilentstore.com, where you can get my new ebook, The 3 Ps, The Keys to Having Better Days, where we lock in on that mindset that will help you start or continue down that journey of self-development, which is those 3 Ps: peace, positivity, and perspective. So tap in, be sure to go to thesilentstore.com. You can get my new ebook, and be sure to support, share it with others so that we can help build this community of like-minded individuals that are centered and focused on growth. So this episode today, we're going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about what it takes to be able to accomplish goals, and what it takes is actually to set a goal that can be accomplished as well. So let's just dive right into it. So the real basis of this conversation, being that it's the beginning of the year, this is the time when many people are setting New Year's resolutions, have started New Year's resolutions, starting new goals, having new things that they want to achieve that they didn't achieve last year, or maybe they didn't think about last year, but now they have inspiration and motivation to be able to achieve something new this year. So they're setting goals, they're challenging themselves to be different, become a better version of ourselves, the way I like to look at it. So when we think about setting goals, the first thing that we want to think about when it comes to a goal is, what do we really want the result to be? What is the goal? What is the target that we're trying to achieve? We want to think with the end in mind, meaning that you want to realize and really be clear on what the result that you want from completing the goal, and then work your way backwards to figure out how can you actually accomplish it. What things are going to be distractions? What situations do you not want to put yourself in that will not contribute to your growth and not help you get to your goal? And what things will? What associates do you need? What people do you need to be around in order to inspire you and keep you on track? What actions do you need to take? What plan of action do you need to put in place in order for you to reach that goal? Because a lot of times we set the goal and we don't know how we're going to get there, and then we get disappointed when the goal doesn't materialize. So we don't want to set ourselves up for disappointment. We don't want to expect something without having a plan to get it done. So we want to make sure we set a goal, make a plan, and then finally we want to make sure that we understand that this is what we really want and know why we want this. What is the benefit for me? What is the benefit for others for me attaining this goal? We want to think about those things when it comes to a goal. So let's break this thing all the way down. So we start with the end in sight. We start with, what is the result that we want to achieve? If we're looking at health and fitness, we may set a goal weight. We may say we want to get to this weight. Once we get to this weight, we're going to feel like we are successful in our health and fitness journey. So when you say I want to get to this weight, you then have to come up with a plan. Okay, how many pounds do I need to lose in order to get to that goal weight? How much exercise am I going to have to do in order to reach this goal weight? How consistent do I need to be in order to reach this goal weight? What is my diet? What is the nutritional things that I need to be aware of to help get me to this weight and then maintain it? So we know what the goal is. The goal is to get to weight X. We know what it is that we're trying to accomplish. We have to break down what it is that we have to do in order to get to weight X. Now we have to figure out, why do we want to do these actions to get to weight X? What is the purpose behind it? What is the reason for losing the weight? What is the reason for gaining the weight? Sometimes we in a situation where we want to put some weight on, put some muscles on. So what is the reason? Because once you know why, and you know how, and you know what you're trying to accomplish, it becomes that much easier to make it happen. When you're in the dark about what you want and you only know what you want, but you don't think or consider what it takes to get there, what sacrifices you're going to have to make, what new actions you're going to have to take, what new habits are you going to have to adapt to in order to reach that goal, we're going to kind of be just shooting in the dark. We don't want to be just aimlessly doing things. We don't want to confuse being busy with progress. We don't want to confuse movement with progress. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're actually going anywhere. You could be on the treadmill. You could be running in place. So you want to be sure and be clear about what it is you want, what it's going to take to actually get there, and why you want to do this. What is the benefit? Maybe it's so that you can be more youthful, so you can feel better, so you can have better sleep, so you can enjoy more time with your children, so you can engage in other activities and step out of your comfort zone. Maybe you just want to feel better about yourself. Maybe you may not be as comfortable at the weight that you're in now, so you want to get to a position where you're more comfortable with yourself. You want to wear that new dress. You want to put on that new suit. You want to wear that new jewelry or whatever it may be. But you need to get to that goal, so it makes it that much more easier to do what you truly want to do. Another thing to think about goals is that when you set a goal, you got to understand that once you get to that goal, the next goal has to align with that. This is your goals should be like stepstones. These are different checkpoints along the way till you get to the final destination, which is the best version of yourself. So as you set goals, you need to set more goals. As you accomplish goals, you need to set more goals. But the key here is that goals come in layers. So you may have an overall goal. You may have an overall vision for what you want your life to look like. Then you have to set incremental goals along the way to keep you on track to reach that final destination. To get to that full realization of your vision, you have to set these incremental goals. You have to cross these milestones till you get to that place. But you can't have these milestones or know what goals to set if you don't have a plan. If you don't know how you're going to accomplish what it is that you're setting out to accomplish, you're going to just be busy doing things, but not really getting fulfillment or satisfaction, because it's going to seem as if that result or that final destination is still like you're chasing after it, like it's running from you, because you haven't been very clear about what it is that it's going to take to get to that end goal. So really look at your goals and really come up with a plan of action. Not a plan of thoughts and what you think you need to do. What are you actually going to do and need to do to accomplish this goal? And along the way, you need to review what it is that you're doing so that you can understand what it takes to get there. When you realize that something isn't working, you need to make an adjustment. It doesn't mean keep going or ignore it. If you're really serious or really want what you say that you want, you're going to make sure that everything that you do has intention and purpose behind it. Just like we spoke about in the last episode, purpose is important because you need to know why it is that you're taking the action. You need to know why it is that you're making the sacrifices. You need to know why it is that this goal is so important that if you don't do this, it could be the detriment of yourself or others. It has to be that real to you. If it's not, and if you look at it from a lackadaisical standpoint, meaning that you'll get to it when you can, oh, I'll do better tomorrow, you'll never really realize what it is that you have in your mind that you want to bring into existence. It will always lay dormant in you if you don't actually put the intention and purpose behind your actions to accomplish the goal. But then it makes you really have to question what it is that you really want. Do you want what other people want? Do you want the feelings that come along with what they have? Or do you really want what you want for yourself and for your family? Because if you really want it, you'll get it. See, we make time for the things that we want to make time for. We make time to rest. We make time to have leisure time and have fun. But when it's time to do the things to reach our goals, we seem to not have enough time. Oh, I don't have enough time to do this. Maybe I'll plan it for tomorrow. I'll try again tomorrow. I don't have enough time to read. I don't have enough time to study. I don't have enough time to do research. I don't have enough time to record a podcast episode. I don't have enough time to schedule an interview. But how are you going to accomplish your goals if you don't make the time? If you don't sacrifice some of those things that you've been doing in order to enrich your life, in order to do things that you want to do? You make time to go do everything else. But when are you going to make time for yourself? When are you going to make time for your goals? When are you going to make time for your growth? That's the question that I want answered. Because that's just as important. You can make all the money in the world, but if you're not improving on who you are as a person, you're really just dying slowly with a lot of money. But you can't take that money with you. So what is the reason behind getting the money? What is the reason behind making the sacrifices? What is the reason behind getting up every day and putting the work in? Get clear on why you're doing it so that it becomes that much easier to explain to yourself why you need to put in the work to get what you want. And then once you actually attain it, you can really be fully satisfied because you know that you sacrificed for it. You really appreciate that goal. You really appreciate that result. You really appreciate your growth when you put the work in. You don't cut corners. You don't cheat. You actually put the work in and take the time to analyze your process, make the right adjustments, communicate these things to those who it affects so that you can get to your goal. You want to have that synergy with all the people in your life to understand where you're trying to go. Everyone needs to be working together so that we all can grow. But if you're the only one striving for goals and the people that are around you don't appreciate what it is that you're striving for, they may do things voluntarily or involuntarily that may stunt your growth because y'all not on the same page. But if you never communicated that you're trying to reach this goal, if you never communicated what your plan is to reach this goal, if you never communicated the reason why you're doing these actions, why you're committing to this plan to reach this goal, how can you expect individuals to support and help you get there? This is why self-development is so important, because sometimes we get stuck in our heads, we get stuck in our own world, and we realize that we are connected to other people's worlds as well. Sometimes what we do affects others whether we know it or don't know it. So we always have to be mindful. That's why our intentions and our purpose have to be so clear. We have to be so sure about what it is that we're doing and what the benefit is to it, so that when we do potentially offend others or affect others by the decisions that we make and the actions that we commit to, we can feel good about ourselves because we know that we're doing this for improvement for ourselves and to be of more benefit for others. It takes away it takes away the guilt. It takes away the resentment. It takes away the regret of making choices for yourself. When you're clear about what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, and what exactly you're going to do to accomplish it. I know for me, I want to be able to put out over 100 episodes this year. 111 to be specific. So what is that going to take? It's going to take some sacrifices. It's going to take some getting up early in the morning. It's going to take some staying up late. It's going to take some time. I got to make the time to get what I want, because the world is not going to stop spinning. Life is not going to stop lifing for you to do what you want to do. You got to make time. You got to be intentional about what you want to do, and you can't take no excuses. You can't take no type of pushback when you're serious about your growth. When you really want to attain something, there's nothing anyone can say or do to stop you from getting there. Yeah, unforeseen circumstances may show up. Yes, things may happen that you don't have control over, but you do have control over your reactions. Are you going to, when you get fall down, are you going to get back up and keep going? If you get set back, are you going to step back up and keep going? Just because you had a little bit of a disappointment in this situation doesn't mean the game is over. Adjust and keep going. But how important is that goal for you? How important is reaching that goal? How important is for you to be able to benefit others with your gift? If you're willing to stop over the smallest of obstacles, if you're willing to stop after the smallest of setbacks. A lot of setbacks and problems that we come across seem big until we solve them. Once we solve them, we realize that really wasn't a big issue. It really wasn't that serious. I was about to get all my emotions bent up, stop growing, stop pursuing my goals over this small issue. That if I just take my time, analyze the situation, weigh it out to see what is the priorities I need to get accomplished, take care of my business, and move forward, that problem then becomes small. But just as we spoke about before in previous episodes, fear can make things appear to be worse than what they really are based off of our mind condition, based off the strength of our mindset. Fear can make things seem to be way bigger, way more extreme, way more dramatic than they really need to be. This is where having a strong mindset, having a mindset centered around growth is important. Because if you're in a fixed state, if you're in a place of complacency or stagnation, when that fear creeps in, you're going to want to retreat back to your comfort zone. You're going to want to retreat back into yourself, back into that low level vibration of yourself, that worst version of yourself. When you're striving to be the best version, you're going to go to the worst version because that's the one that's scared. Your worst version of yourself is not brave at all. Your worst version of yourself isn't creative. Your worst version of yourself doesn't use reason and logic in order to figure out what it is that needs to be done. Your worst version of yourself does not have emotional intelligence to be able to handle situations that they weren't expecting. But if you're striving to be the best version of yourself, you have to take those steps to face those fears, find your purpose, set your intention, set some goals, create a plan, write it down, and start taking steps to go forward. Make it real for yourself. Another key thing to think about goals is that if you have a goal without a deadline or without some type of time frame linked to it, then that goal is really just a wish. You're just kind of just throwing something out in the wind and hoping that you catch it. But when you say by this date, I want to have this done, you may feel a little bit of pressure. You might feel a little stress, but this can be positive pressure and stress because you're holding yourself accountable. You know that there's a time stamp on what you need to get done. So that means you don't have time to sacrifice. You don't have time to, you have time to sacrifice. You need to find it, but you don't have time to play around and make excuses. You don't have time to sit around and figure out, well, I can wait till tomorrow and get this done. No, you got to work today because the clock is ticking. After you have that time frame in place, you need to now have a penalty at the end of that so that if you don't reach that goal, there has to be a consequence at the end of it. That's where your accountability partner comes in, because if you set that penalty, if I don't accomplish this goal by this time, I got to pay you this amount of money, or I got to do all the chores, or I got to do X, Y, and Z that's going to be so important to you. Or I ain't gonna say important. You got to find a penalty that's going to be that's going to put enough fire up under you in order for you to accomplish that goal. Well, you don't want to do that. You don't want to commit to that consequence. You don't want to pay that person $1,000. You don't want to give that person $50. You don't want to have to give this person 50 push-ups. Whatever the consequence or penalty may be, but that keeps you accountable. Now, if the penalty is too low, if you say, well, if I don't reach this goal, I got to give somebody $1, and you actually in a place where that dollar doesn't really affect you, well, you may not actually hit that goal because you're going to look at it like, oh, it's just $1. Take it. But once that penalty gets in a point where it's like, hey, if I got to do this, it's going to stretch me. It's going to hurt me to be able to have to get penalized. So I better go ahead and hit my goal. I better hit my goal, because if I don't hit my goal, it's going to hurt. This might affect my well-being. So we want to take that in consideration. But we want to be clear about what it is that we want. That's the main thing. When you're setting a goal, you want to be sure that that goal is what you really want. Then you want to be very clear about the steps that you're going to take to accomplish that goal. Then you want to be clear about what it is that is causing you to want to reach that goal. What is your why? Set your intentions on why you want to keep this goal. What is it benefiting you? How is it benefiting your family? These are the things that you want to consider. Goal setting is important because otherwise you're just kind of aimlessly moving. And again, we don't want to confuse being busy with being productive. We don't want to confuse moving with progress, because just because you're moving around does not mean that you're going anywhere. So you want to be conscious of that at all times. And then, of course, we also want to be aware of what it is that is a distraction for us. We have to be very clear on what it is that goes on in our minds and our emotions so that we can make it very, not going to say very easy to get your goals, but you want to make it your goals reachable. If you have a goal in mind that you're looking to accomplish, but you're putting yourself in environments that's going to distract you from your goal, that's going to tempt you away from your goal, then are you really looking to attain that goal? Is that really your intention or your purpose? More than likely, it's probably not. A lot of times goals are set, but if we don't know how we're going to accomplish them, those goals get pushed back. You can put a time frame on it. You can know what you want. But if you don't know why you're doing it, you're going to get to a point where you get bored of doing the same thing every day because you're trying to get to that goal. If the weight loss is your goal, going to the gym every day may get tiresome. You may get worn out. But if you know why you're doing it, you'll get up. You'll push through the pain. You'll get through the resistance. So just be clear about your goals. This year, we can't play around with our goals. We can't just say, oh, I want to do this or I want to get that, but not really put the work in. And putting the work in is not about what people see. This isn't like when you're in grade school and you do a math problem and the teacher wants you to show your work to prove that you are doing what you're taught or what you've learned to do. You only need to prove it to yourself. You prove it to yourself by actually doing the work. You know what you're doing. You don't need to show everybody else and announce to everybody, hey, I'm working on my goals. Hey, look at me. I'm working on my goals today. Because what's going to happen when you wake up and you don't feel as motivated to work on your goals and you've been telling everybody that you're working on your goals? What's going to happen? They're going to be expecting you to be working on your goals. And then when you get confronted with it, you're going to feel insecure, which is then going to add more resentment to your goals, which is going to make you not want to accomplish them more. So you focus on you accomplishing your goals. You work on yourself. Prove to yourself that you can do it. The people that will be aware of what you're doing, they'll take notice. But if you're worried about showing them what you're doing, if that is your priority, is showing other people that you're putting in the work, you're going to get burnt out. It's guaranteed. Now, I'm not going to say that's 100%. There probably are some people out there that's their way of staying accountable. They have to put it on Front Street for people to hold them accountable. But we don't want to take this blanket approach for everybody. Not everybody needs the world to know that they're growing and that they're working on their goals. Some people just need to be sure of themselves. They need to build that self-confidence. So you need to prove to yourself that you can accomplish XYZ goal. You need to prove to yourself that you can be consistent, that you can wake up every day, regardless of how you feel, and put the work in. You got to prove it to yourself. Once you can prove it to yourself, the world is already watching and observing. They're going to see the change over time. As you make internal changes, your external changes start to appear. You start drinking more water. You start having a healthier diet. People are going to start seeing it. They're going to see you glow. They're going to see your skin clear up. They're going to see your body change. They're going to see your energy different. So you don't need to tell them, oh, I'm drinking water every day. Oh, I'm eating vegetables. I'm vegetarian. I'm vegan. I'm doing this, that, and the third. Just do the work. The results will speak for themselves. Actions speak louder than words. So why are you telling everybody what your goals are when you should just be doing the work? And they will see what your goals are because you're going to accomplish them. So think about that. It's not about professing to everybody what it is that you're doing. It's about doing it. No one wants to, I'm going to say no one wants to, but eventually it'll start to appear to seem like bragging at a certain point. People begin to resent people who just broadcast everything, but they don't see the work. It's like, oh, I did this, oh, I did that. Great. But what are you really trying to accomplish? What is your goal here? Is your goal to impress me? Because you're not going to really impress me because I'm not in tune with what you in tune with. Your goals have nothing, they have no effect on me. What you want to accomplish with your life has zero effect on me. So you don't have to prove it to me. You need to prove it to yourself. But a lot of times that projection is often signs of insecurity. So there's inner work that needs to be done. Individuals who have a growth mindset or are focused on improving themselves, they are aware of their insecurities. So they're doing things in order to heal from that. They're doing things in order to prove to themselves that they are who they say they are and who other people may even say they are. But you got to prove it to yourself first, because if you don't believe it, how can you expect someone else to believe it? If you don't think it's true, how can you expect someone else to think it's true? If what you're doing doesn't feel like it's great to you, how can you expect someone else to feel like it's great? So being sure of yourself comes from actually accomplishing things. You don't accomplish anything by doing nothing. You have to do something. Take some actions, take some steps. Once you start taking steps, it gets easier. The hardest thing to do is to start. And maybe we'll break that down in another episode of how to start. We'll break it down I have a whole acronym for START, START. We'll break that down in another episode. But we want to get started. But once you get started, you'll realize that life is kind of like, well, I ain't say life. Your goals are kind of like a big boulder that you're trying to push. It may take a while to get started, but once you get started and that ball starts rolling, it gets easier. It gets easier with time. You just got to get started. Don't be afraid of the energy that it may take to push yourself to get started, because just know that the way you start and the way you finish is all that matters. The stuff in the middle, everything that's in between your start and your finish, this is where all the growth happens. So don't be afraid of while you're growing, mistakes are going to happen. Failures and setbacks are going to come up. Disappointments are going to come up. You're going to have people that's going to let you down. You're going to have lies and things come your way. Adversity is going to come your way, setbacks. But you still want to get to the end. How you start and how you finish is all that matters. Everything in between is growth. Everything else in between is growth. Not to say that you don't have control over what's in between, but these things in between are the results of you starting and finishing. This is where all the magic happens, is in between your start and your finish, your growth, your progress. The learning takes place between the start and the finish. You don't learn anything when you don't start. You don't know anything about yourself until you start trying to accomplish a goal. How do you know how strong you are unless you pick up some weights? You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. You may in your mind want to pick up 100 pounds. But if you've never picked up 100 pounds, when you try it, you'll realize that you got some work to do. So it's bigger than just the desire. It's bigger than just the want. You got to put a plan together, set some goals, and work your way to that end goal. And while you're doing that, be sure to appreciate each thing that you accomplish. Each step that you take should be celebrated in its own way, because all of that is growth. This is all growth at the end of the day. All of this is helping you get to where you want to be. So don't take it for granted. Don't look at it as as something minor. Don't look at it as something that is just anything. It's just that's the way it's supposed to go. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate your losses too, because that loss is a lesson. It's something that you can learn from that so that you can win the next time. So you want to be aware of that. These goals are just stepstones to get to your final vision or your final destination. Growth is what happens between when you start and when you finish. So let's kind of recap here. So we're talking about goals here. You want to be very clear about what it is that you want. Start with the end in sight. What's the goal? Then I want you to reverse engineer your goal to how you're going to accomplish it. Come up with a plan, step by step, Write it down how you're going to get from point A to point B. Once you have it clear on how you're going to get there, you need to be very, very clear on why it is that you're going to start and complete this goal. Your intention and your purpose behind this goal is very important, because though you may have all the steps written down on what you got to accomplish, if you don't know why you need to do these things, if you don't have any importance behind why you need to do these things, it would become that much harder to accomplish it and that much easier to push it off. So know what you want, reverse engineer on how you're going to accomplish it, be clear on why it is that you're going to set this goal. Next, you want to make sure that you have an accountability partner to help you stay on track. And with that accountability partner, you want to create a penalty for not accomplishing that goal. And the reason you have a penalty is because you put a time frame on it. You say, I want to get to this end goal by this time. And if I don't, I need to do this. This will be my penalty. And your accountability partner is the one that's going to hold you accountable for either accomplishing that goal or fulfilling that penalty. So, as always, this is your brother Silent Sound. This has been another silent conversation. As always, it's sponsored by The Silent Store. That's thesilentstore.com. That's where you can get my new ebook, The 3 Ps, The Keys to Having Better Days. That's peace, positivity, and perspective. This is a mindset that everyone can use to start and continue down their journey of self-development. It's a great foundation. So tap in. Again, that's The Silent Store, thesilentstore.com. Be sure to check that out. And last, I just want to leave with just something quick here. Just understand that fear is an illusion. Fear is an illusion. The stronger your mindset, the weaker the fear becomes. Doesn't mean the fear doesn't show up. But if your mindset is strong, if your intentions and purpose are clear, if you have goals that you want to set and a plan of action to go along with those goals, that fear can just be a motivator to help you push through, give you a heightened awareness of your situation. But don't let it stop you. Keep pushing. It's your brother Silent Sound. This has been the Silent Conversations podcast. Tap in. Peace.